Welcome everybody and thank you for watching KNBSTV. I have a very interesting guest today. Guess where she's from? She's from Germany. Not only is she unique in where she's coming from, but she also has a very interesting degree. She happens to be an Egyptologist. Vivian, welcome to the show.
Tony, thank you so much for having me tonight.
Pleasure having you here. I have such great interest in what you do. Tell me, what inspired you to get into such a unique profession?
Well, believe it or not, it was a movie. So you may be remembering the movie The Mummy from the 90s.
Okay.
So that really got me into the idea of wanting to do that myself, getting that kind of adventure into my life.
How old were you when this happened?
That was 1999, so I was 14, yeah.
14-year-old little girl gets inspired by a movie, The Mummy. Now, mind you, she already had an interest in Egyptology, right?
Absolutely.
And then the movie just cemented the deal.
Yes.
So tell me, what have you been doing about that profession?
Well, then I actually started to study ancient Egyptian history, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, so I did learn how to decipher those. I loved that, enjoyed that very much. And then after a while, I learned how to draw technically for ancient Egyptian excavations. They took me on excavation, so I got my adventure right there.
Wow. So she's living out her fantasy, and she gets to find archaeological digs.
Yeah.
Which one has been the most fascinating one for you?
Well, I have been to Middle Egypt, so that's a place in between Cairo and Luxor. In the middle of nowhere, really beautiful, absolutely the way that you imagine it to be. You know, out there in the sand, we were having a little oasis in which the house was where we were located and excavating. And it's an area where you have a temple for the god Thoth, and his animals were the baboon. I'm sorry, I didn't get the English.
Okay.
The baboon and the ibis. So it's a place where they would bury mummies of ibises and baboons.
It is so fascinating that they have this incredible belief system that if they preserve the body and give it all of its artifacts, all of its belongings, that they could achieve eternal life. Tell me what you've discovered in some of these archaeological finds that's really intrigued you.
Well, we have actually discovered a tomb from one of the priests. So that was very exciting. We opened it up and we expected it to be empty. And lo and behold, there was actually a bed inside of it. 2 beds, wooden beds. They were painted brightly, beautifully. We had mummies inside. They were covered in gold and inlays made of glass. We had several objects in there. So it was one of the most amazing points at my life to actually be at such a discovery. It was really cool.
Wow. They had incredible technology even at that time. Technology to move these humongous stones, first of all, to create the pyramids. Incredible knowledge in being able to preserve the body, the organs, everything.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about their belief system.
Well, their belief system. So we had many gods. I think all of us know some of the greater gods, like Horus, for example. And he had, the falcon had, maybe you've seen one of the statues of Horus already. So that was one of the most important gods. They had these great big temples built for all the gods. Usually 3 gods were living at such a temple, mommy, daddy, and the kids. So you had the holy triad in there. So it was really a very rich and very beautifully populated pantheon that they had.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about the hieroglyphs. You said you had to learn how to read it and how to interpret it. Does that change over time? Or the hieroglyphs just like English, just like static?
No, not at all. So as you said, they actually change over time.
Wow.
You would have to really study the different stages of the hieroglyphics. And mind you, they are not pictures as such. They are actually really letters that you can read. But you only have consonants. There are no vowels in between them, so we don't really know how the things were pronounced in ancient Egypt, but we have a good idea of how it was done.
Maybe the absence of a vowel meant that the person speaking it was having the option of making whatever the sound they wanted, because as long as the consonants are there, you could probably follow the message, correct?
Probably, yeah. And the other idea is also that when you know how to pronounce it, everybody knows that you don't need the vowels. So it's like LOL today,
Right.
laughing out loud.
Sure,
Everybody
sure.
understands it. If they find it in 1,000 years, they're going to be like, what is that? What does that mean? So it's really kind of like that.
So just like the English language is constantly evolving, you're saying that through that you're able to do an actual dating of what happened from this era to another one just from the hieroglyphic changes?
Yes, yes. If you find an object, if you're lucky enough to find an object that has writing on it, then you can actually tell by the writing, by the grammar, by the hieroglyphics, how they were painted, which ones were used, in which time the object could be put into. Because
That's amazing.
obviously you can take an older object and put something on it later, so you have to be careful with that, but it is a good possibility.
I am so impressed that Vivian Nader is able to live out her lifelong fantasy to be an Egyptologist, all through the inspiration of a movie, and is actually living it out by not only challenging herself to find these mummies, actually going through the excitement of finding it and then excavating it with what, your professor and your whole crew, of course.
Exactly, yes. Yes.
And then cataloging, and she has a very interesting talent. Tell us about it. I understand that's probably one of the reasons why you got picked.
Exactly. So I can draw, and that is a very important way of depicting the objects that you find still to this very day. So I got picked because I can draw well. I have a technical drawing background.
Nice,
I learned
nice.
how to draw archaeologically, technically for archaeological excavations. And so we use those drawings to depict the objects, to show where they are damaged, for example, and then after that you can put them in books, for example, or on the internet, whichever. So yeah, that's amazing what you can do, and it's wonderful to handle the finds and then actually draw them. It's really unique experience.
Right, right. So when you find these mummies, you're actually able to catalog everything that's in there. You can date it. You can identify it, and now through what? Through the technology of DNA, you're able to find out what gene line that person belonged to.
Exactly, exactly.
Even though it's that old, right?
Definitely. So you would have to be careful if you handle a mummy, then you possibly put your own DNA on there. So if you distribute your skin, so you would have to wear gloves. Other than that, yes, you can still find out much about the mummies and their lineage through DNA today.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's been the most exciting experience of being an
Yeah.
Egyptologist for you?
Which one was? That's a good question. Well, definitely finding that tomb. That was unique. That was very, very impressive. It was, especially when you don't expect anything to be in there. So I think that was the pleasure of the unexpected, if you so wish.
So the challenge of discovering the unknown, but did you have to do a lot of background searching to say this is where this should be, or was it just like a complete lucky shot?
No, by no means a lucky shot. So the professor that I joined for this excavation, he had been working on that field for about 25 years before.
Wow.
So you had a lot of different places that had already been excavated by him. This is an area where you have many tombs of priests, and he was expecting something to be in the vicinity where we excavated, but it was by no means sure. So there was a lot of background research, though.
That's amazing. So his work has finally paid off.
It has, yes, definitely, yeah.
There have been so many discoveries. The most famous one, of course, we all know of King Tut.
Oh yeah.
But if it's marketed correctly, this creates a lot of intrigue and a lot of fascination as to what our background was in that era. After all, we're talking about stuff that happened over 10,000 years ago. That's amazing that they had all this technology and knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any closing comments?
Well, I would love for people to be still interested in ancient Egypt, and I'm very happy to see that they usually are. I think there's the King Tut exhibition right now as well. So those things are absolutely wonderful to keeping this beautiful culture alive, and I hope people love it and enjoy it as much as I do when they see something from the ancient Egyptians.
That's so beautiful that you've taken your time out to share your profession and all your passion in this profession, to bring it to the forefront and still market it through the most beautiful medium, which is television. I thank you so much for sharing this with us, and it's a pleasure having you here at the studios. Thank you all for watching KNBSTV. Until next time, thank you for watching. Bye-bye now. much.